Happy Valentine's Day, fellow Decepticons. SoundBlaster1987 here with my monthly vlog for February 2025. Today is going to be a sort of 2-in-1 type of video, because it's going to be both a history of a character video and a history of a concept video, because I'm going to be going over both the Transformers character Elita-1 and the history of her complex relationship with Optimus Prime across the multiverse of the franchise. For those who don't know, although RC is the most famous Autobot female character, Elita-1 was actually one of the first to be created, and it's partly because of Elita-1's success in the Season 2 episodes, The Search for Wavatron and War Dawn, that RC was created from the '86 movie in the first place. So, yes, as I was saying, the first appearance of Elita-1 was the Season 2 animated series episode, The Search for Wavatron, from the original 1984 animated series. She wasn't in the Marvel Comics because there was no toy of the female Autobots to push at the time. And obviously the higher up executives at Hasbro were a little bit against having female characters in a mostly boy-centric toy line, even though they'd already had multiple strong female characters in G.I.H.O.S.T at that point, but still. Elita-1 was set up as not just Optimus Prime's girlfriend, but also as the leader of a guerrilla cell of all-female Autobots who were acting as resistance fighters on Decepticon-controlled Cybertron, basically performing hit-and-run attacks, breaking into Shockwave's lab and the Decepticon stronghold capital and stealing Energon cubes and such. The main members of this unit are Chromia, Moonracer, Firestar, Lancer and Greenlight, all of whom have had their own toys and comic appearances and cult following of their own, which I might end up doing as a feature video down the line. But anyway, as I was saying before, Elita-1 is basically Optimus Prime's girlfriend, and she was really happy to see him when Optimus Prime led a team back to Cybertron to rescue the female Autobots during the Search for Wavatron storyline. It seems that Elita wasn't too happy with Prime leaving her behind on Cybertron in the first place when they left for Earth, but they quickly got over that and teamed up to rescue both Elita's other female Autobots and Wavatron from a Decepticon attack, since Shockwave had also summoned Megatron back to Cybertron to avenge the theft of Energon cubes from his laboratory. And then, throughout Generation 2, the Beast Era, RID 2001 and the Unicron trilogy, Elita-1 was absent, and again she didn't appear in the Marvel Comics, and she didn't appear in the Japanese series either. Not the, Japanese G.H.O.S.T sequel series anyway. She did appear again in the episode War Dawn though, as I mentioned before, as part of the Aerialbot Paradox storyline, in which basically the Aerialbots were a combiner team created by Optimus Prime and Wavatron in the two-part Key to Vector Sigma episode, in order to combat Megatron's new Stunticons combiner team. But because of the events of War Dawn, the Aerialbots also created Optimus Prime as well through time travel shenanigans. Basically, the Aerialbots interfered with Shockwave's Chronosphere time travel experiment and went back in time to pre-war Cybertron during its golden age, where they met a fuel repository worker called Orion Pax and his girlfriend Ariel, who were later gunned down by Megatron during his rise to power. The Aerialbots sought out their co-creator Wavatron to resurrect Orion Pax and Ariel, and that's how they became Optimus Prime and Elita-1, the first generation of battle-ready Autobots to combat the new Decepticon threat. So, basically, the Aerialbots were created by Optimus Prime, and then went back in time to create him instead. It's like Megatron of the Constructicons all over again. I'll make a separate video about the Aerialbot and Constructicon paradoxes down the line, because they're complex enough to warrant their own video. But for now, the closest we get to Elita-1 in the Unicron trilogy era is the fact that her pre-upgrade name Ariel from the G1 cartoon was used as the Japanese version of Energon RC, the motorbike with the leader of the Omnicons. And the design for Cybertron Override, or Nitro Convoy of the planet Velocitron, was heavily inspired by G1 Elita-1's design. So much so, in fact, that a repaint of Override was retconned as the Shattered Glass Evil Universe version of Elita-1 in the Fun Pub comics at BotCon. and to this day I'm still waiting for a G1 Elita-1 retool of the Legacy override mould. Then came the 2007 live-action movie, and the Transformers animated series. I've already gone over the origins of animated Elita-1's turned to Blackarachnia at length for my History of Blackarachnia video back at Halloween 2024, so I'll leave a link in the description below for you to watch that if you want to. But basically, in the comics for the movie, Elita-1 was left behind on Cybertron and was one of the leaders of a group of resistance fighters that basically consisted of the Unicron trilogy repaints and retools for the Allspark Power and Sector 7 toy lines for the tie-in of the movie. So, Air Raid, the Energon Skyblast repaint, and several others. So, the original toy of the Movie 1 Elita-1 figure was just a straight repaint of Energon RC again, possibly as a reference to the fact that her Japanese name was Ariel, a reference to Elita-1's G1 incarnation. These things keep referencing back to each other more than Pixar does. But anyway, the toy was a completely unchanged repaint of the Energon RC mold, but the comics gave her a G1 accurate Elita-1 helmet on top of that same design. Then of course there was the BotCon 2009 Wings of Honor gift set exclusive, which basically turned the Cybertron Thunderblast mold into a version of Elita-1 that turned into a boat. I'd argue that a female, so a gender swap version of G1 Scourge would have been a better fit for that kind of thing, but Thunderblast helmet already resembled Elita-1, so it wasn't a difficult retool to make, I suppose. But, going back to the movies, Elita-1 was one of the triplets of the components of RC and Revenge of the Fallen, who ended up getting killed at the Battle of Cairo by the Fallen and the other Decepticons that invaded the Earth around that point. Although there was another Elita-1 toy released in the Dark of the Moon line, just a repaint of a Revenge of the Fallen figure. And of course the studio series, Chromia Elita-1 and RC Combiner set. There were 3 sort of core class scale mini motorcycles that combine into one sort of vaguely deluxe sized 3-headed monstrosity because of an unused piece of CGI concept art for the films that showed a combined mode of the robots of the RC triplets. From there, we have to go to the IDW 1.0 continuity because Dreamwave Comics were going to include Elita-1 in their comics, but then they went out of business before the storyline involving her could be concluded. The same storyline that ended up cancelling the presence of Unicron. So, in the IDW comics, Elita-1 was one of the political leaders of the female colony world Caminus, along with Chromia, RC and... actually no, not RC. RC was originally a male character in the IDW comics. But Chromia, Windblade and Elita-1 are all diplomatic envoys to Cybertron from the planet Caminus in the comics, and there was a bit of a struggling history between Elita and Optimus as a result of interplanetary relations between the two worlds being cut off due to the war. And Elita-1 became a bit of a ruthless dictatorial type during the course of the IDW run, from what little I've seen of it. And apparently in the 2019 IDW relaunch, she was a member of the Ascenticon faction and their political party, the Rise, possibly as a security guard for one of the higher-ups. And of course, the Rise later evolved into the 2019 relaunch version of the Decepticon faction in the comics. I haven't read any of the Skybound series yet, so I don't know whether Elita-1's involved in that storyline yet, but I highly doubt it at this point. Elita-1 was also absent from Transformers Cyberverse and several other pieces of media over the years. And like I say, I've gone over my thoughts on the animated Elita-1 before in my History of Blackarachnia video, but for those who haven't seen it, basically she had the same powers as Rogue from Marvel's X-Men, the ability to download a temporary copy of other Transformers' weapons and abilities just by touching them, and she ended up being left behind on a planet of organic giant spider mutants by Optimus and Sentinel Prime when an off-the-books mission to retrieve some Energon from a crashed Decepticon ship went wrong. Elita ended up getting bitten by the spiders while trying to download their organic nature, and the venom of the spiders mutated her into Blackarachnia, a techno-organic monstrosity that ended up joining the Decepticons because she knew the Autobots would never accept her again back into their ranks due to their fear of contamination by organic life in the animated universe. She ended up making her way to Earth via Megatron's ship, the Nemesis, and ended up living as a sort of castaway on Dinobot Island for most of the series, where she ended up getting constantly flirted with by Grimlock. She was also a bit of a source of tension with some of the other Autobots at one point because, well, the first time she encountered Bumblebee and Bulkhead's sort of lantern-jawed lower jaw plate fell off altogether. I'll never understand how that even worked, but anyway, back to Elita-1's history. The next time we see Elita-1 is in the Transformers Earthspark animated series, where she's not just Optimus Prime's partner, but also the second-in-command of the G.H.O.S.T alliance with the Autobots. G.H.O.S.T, for those who don't know, is the, government-sanctioned military organisation that the Autobots and Megatron teamed up with at the end of the war, when Megatron became, basically, like the cartoon equivalent of his IDW 1.0 equivalent, turning not so much an Autobot, but, joining with the Autobots, but still keeping the Decepticon symbol stuck to his chest plate. Elita-1 was one of their main Autobot allies of the series, who was helping Bumblebee to hide from the G.H.O.S.T organisation as a fugitive, and also teaching the Malto family and their Earth Cybertronian hybrid Terran friends to basically learn how to survive in a world where G.H.O.S.T and the Decepticons are still in an ongoing conflict. We don't see much of Optimus and Elita together, but what little we do see, they are somewhat close together. There's not as much of a romance going on as there was in the G1 cartoon and such, but I digress. I almost forgot to mention the Covenant of Primus book, which is supposed to be like the Transformers equivalent of the Bible, does mention that Elita-1 existed in the Aligned Continuity universe, the War for Cybertron video game trilogy, the Exodus and Exiles novels, the Transformers Prime, Rescue Bots and Robots in Disguise 2015 cartoon series and such. And there was a deleted scene in Transformers Prime in which Ratchet basically implies that Optimus was responsible for Elita-1's death during the war on Cybertron at one point. And it's also seen in the Covenant of Primus that Elita-1 was part of Sentinel Zeta Prime's ruling council of 13 elders on the City Council of Iacon, the Autobot stronghold on Cybertron at one point. Then, of course, there was the Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy and the, Power of the Primes part of the Prime Wars trilogy on Netflix. Admittedly, I haven't seen much of the War for Cybertron or Prime Wars trilogy Netflix shows, but the Elita-1 toy that came out in Power of the Primes was an extensive retool of the Torso Starscream figure. So, therefore, she was supposed to be the leader of the Orphea, or Elita Infinite combiner, with Firestar, Lancer, Greenlight and Moonracer as the arms and legs, with Lancer and Greenlight coming out as part of the Siege line as Generation Selects and Buzzworthy Bumblebee exclusives. It's a bit of a shame that Chromia wasn't part of the combiner set, because she was a brand new mold from the Siege line, but was very similar to the Power of the Prize Moonracer mold, minus the combiner functionality. Again, with what little I've seen of the Netflix trilogy series, Elita-1 and Optimus do seem to be close, but somewhat resentful of how things have gone due to the war. And to be honest, I can't say I blame her. Elita-1 was one of the main characters of the Transformers 1 movie, which, again, at the time of filming this review, I still haven't actually watched. But basically, she was the leader of the cogless Energon mining group that Optimus Prime, Bumblebee and Megatron also were part of at one point. She turns into a futuristic Cybertronian motorcycle once she gets a transformation con from Alpha Trion later on in the film, from what I've seen. And beyond that, I don't know enough about the film to spoil anything else about Elita-1's character, so you'll have to just watch the film for yourself to see more about that. So, that being said, that concludes my look back at Elita-1 and the history she has with Optimus Prime. I've been SoundBlaster1987, thanks again for watching. My next monthly vlog for March will be another history of a character video where I look back at the character of Tracy Beaker, at which point I'll also be speaking directly to Danny Harmer herself at Sheffield Comic Con 2025 in the Ponds Forge International Sports Centre in March. So, till then, my next toy review will be the 2011 Toy Story 3 Interactive Buzz Lightyear. Till then, till all are one.